Hey folks, walk with me. Well, it's raining out today. Maybe you can't really tell on the video, but we'll see how we do. Or if we get sort of poured on, then we might have to clip this one. But I was thinking, I guess just earlier today, about my extreme, decades-long struggles with insomnia. And I thought I'd share a bit of my story, and in the efforts that it, I don't know, either makes you feel not alone, or maybe even a best case scenario, there's some common ground and something that you can try to get yourself on a better track. But to start sort of at the beginning, I have had insomnia for as long as I can remember, meaning as a kid, I would stay up all night, oftentimes until the sun was coming up, and then I would go to school all day and have to perform and learn and all that stuff, which is crazy. I had such bad insomnia that I was really uncomfortable staying in my room, and I would actually go out of my room and go sit in the hallway. There was like this window where the moonlight would often come through, and I would sit outside of my parents' bedroom in the hallway in the moonlight to basically not be alone in the dark. And this went on my entire childhood through adolescence, teenage years, so on and so forth. It did get, I think, a little bit better when I went to college. And then when I left college and moved to Chicago, it got bad again. Part of it is not liking to sleep in the room by myself. Part of it is my tendency to have a worrisome, anxious nature. And so those quieter moments will really get to me. Sorry, I keep looking around because there's a lot of chipmunks and birds and stuff out, or squirrels, and they're dropping acorns, but there's also several bears out, and so I'm just keeping an eye. Not that I have anything to fend a bear off with, but it would make this video entertaining maybe. Anyway, so that's how I spent sort of my earlier years. And then when I left Chicago, I was traveling around playing music actually for 5 or 6 years, like full time. And periodically I would sleep well, but would still have a lot of struggles with it. And now, since I moved from New York and had kids, and in a more rural / suburban setting, it's just full on awful. Again, oftentimes, I often say that in order for me to get like 6 to 8 hours of sleep in a night, I need to be in bed for probably 10 to 12 hours, which is just like, with kids and work and a house and just regular desires to do other things, it is hard to spend 10 to 12 hours of your day in bed. But sometimes I will do it, or your night, I should say. Sometimes I will do it because, as I'm sure you know, if you have this crippling insomnia, it makes your waking hours also quite crippling. And so, some things that have worked somewhat well for me, and this isn't like medical or supplement advice, this is just me talking about my story. But there was a while where I was trying a GABA, G-A-B-A, plus 5-HTP. So I'd take them in the evening, and it did make me very tired. It did help me fall asleep relatively quickly. The problem was I noticed that I would wake up really irritated most of the time, which is not super common for me. I mean, I'm often quite groggy and sluggish because of decades of insomnia, but this was like a very sort of distinct irritability that was different than just being tired. It was, yeah. So it did something there. I don't know what. I tried to look it up, but it was a pretty fruitless search. But it, the flip side is it did help me fall asleep, but I had to stop taking it because I couldn't deal with the irritability throughout the day. I was like, really, especially with like young kids, like it's not helpful to be that agitated from minute one in the morning. I tried kava, and interestingly, from what I know, I'm not a huge kava nut, like kava, K-A-V-A. But there are people who are very much kava nuts. Sorry. And from what I can tell, the sort of pure, quality tested root of the plant, which is what you want. I'm going off of memory here, but you can easily look it up. Look it up on Reddit. That's where you'll get a ton of strong opinions and information. It comes in this like powdered format. I got the ones that were sort of easier to make. There's like a sort of a more time intensive and labor intensive process to making it, which I think is the like authentic way. But then there's also some companies who've made it so that you still mix it with water or juice or whatever, but they take a bunch of the labor intensity or intensiveness out of it. And that's what I was using. That actually made it harder for me to sleep. I actually posted once on the subreddit and sort of asked, and I guess it's something that people can have come up. Oh my God. It's like a branch that fell. I don't know why I'm so skittish here today, but it's something about like the weird, spooky, dreary grayness of the day. But so that was my deal with drinking the kava, which also tastes awful and has this weird thing that's just a natural occurrence and is common, that it numbs your mouth for a relatively brief period of time, but it still numbs your mouth and you're like, what is happening? But that actually kept me up more. I thought that it would sort of calm down, and that was even with taking the ones that they say are better for late in the day, wind down, be relaxed. What has actually worked though are the kava pills, which I think are like, from what I recall reading, they're very much like not seen as authentic or whatever by many of the kava drinkers and proponents. But for whatever reason, the drink made it harder for me to sleep. It didn't like amp me up. It's just like sleep wouldn't come. But the pills, I still find they often do help me go to sleep. There's some concerns around like organ stuff, so I try not to take it too often. It's just sort of like when I feel desperate. So those have been sort of the most helpful ones. Melatonin always left me feeling really crappy the next morning. Like edibles, yeah, those can be useful, I've found, but I think that they screw, similarly with alcohol, they screw with your REM cycle, and so, you know, it can just, yeah, mess with your sleep cycles, which, yeah, I understand, again, in times of just sheer desperation of I'd rather get crappy sleep or maybe not perfect sleep than not enough sleep. So I get it, and that's sort of like when I've sort of succumbed to that kind of thing. But it does, if you look at sort of some of the sleep experts out there, my understanding is it does mess with your sleep cycles. So take it for what you will. But I think that that's about it. But just know that, you know, if you're struggling with insomnia, or if you have your whole life, what I'm actually doing right now, which I'm hoping is maybe going to be a longer term solution and a more helpful solution. It's really starting to rain now. Is like work through the reasons why I'm so anxious and worried in the evenings, and the things that have led up to, you know, this feeling of like not being just sort of safe and secure in one's home, which obviously then manifests poorly at night when everyone else is asleep. So, but that's a longer process than taking like a kava pill, right? So, but I've spent this long struggling with it, so I figured let me try to do the harder thing, maybe the more time-intensive thing, and see if I can get the next, whatever I have left, 20, 30, 40 years, maybe I can get back some nights of having actual quality primo sleep. And if you do have primo sleep out there, you probably haven't watched this video at all, or certainly not all the way through, but I envy you tremendously. And I do worry about what the insomnia has done to like my metabolism and my brain health and my immune system, and I think it's probably not great, but so it goes. Well, on the other, you know, trying to offset some of those things, we've walked for almost 13 minutes, so there's that. And if you walked with me, cool. Thanks for coming along. If not, thanks for watching anyway and doing whatever you're doing. All right, folks, I will see you in the next video.